can get into business. So thanks everybody for attending today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the IAB Europe Research Awards to kick off with. So these recognise and celebrate the contribution made to the development of the industry by innovative research projects and the team behind them. The webinar is going to share winning case studies from various categories: brand advertising effectiveness, audience measurement, advertising solutions, and consumer devices. So the Research Awards form part of IAB Europe's mission to prove the value of digital advertising, and we see a number, both in an increase both in the number of entries and in the quality each year. So we really encourage everybody to get involved in this awards competition if you haven't done so far. Today's webinar is going to last about 45 minutes, 35 minutes for presentations and a 10-minute Q&A. So the recording, etc., will be available after the event for you to share with other colleagues, and there will be further details on our website. A little bit of housekeeping to start with. So please note there's a chat panel and a questions panel to the right-hand side of your screen. You can submit technical queries on the chat panel and questions in the questions panel. So now I'm going to go ahead and introduce the presenters who are joining us today. So we have Nigel Roth, Managing Director from On-Device Research, Bertrand Krug, who is Head of Digital at Médiamétrie, George Panayotou, who is Senior Product Manager Internet Advertising at Comscore, and Luis Fernando Ruiz Pedroia, Insights and Intelligence Director from OMD Spain. So I'm now going to hand over to Nigel to present the From On-Device to Out-of-Home case study. Welcome, Nigel.
Thank you very much. Hope you can all hear me fine. Give me a heads up if you can, I guess, but I'm going to...
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
Yep. Okay, all right, very good. Well, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we achieved with this particular... can you see my screen okay? Is that showing all right?
Yeah, I think we... Yeah, I think we've got, yes, we have. Just put it into full screen mode. Fantastic. There we go.
Perfect.
Okay,
all right, no problem. I just want to make sure before I got going. Great. So we're going to look at this today. I know we've only got a little bit of time, so I'm not going to go over too much in terms of too much detail, but I did want to introduce the idea of what we did and how we managed to win this very prestigious award, which we're incredibly proud of. On-device research began about 8 years ago with some very focused in-app advertising research work, and we've developed all the way across these 8 years with the industry to get to a point where we are now able to offer cross-media measurement. And the cross-media measurement that we offer is really quite interesting and unique in the sense that it doesn't rely at all on opportunity to see or on claimed recall or claimed exposure. This is all passive tracking of actual exposure to advertising in different areas. And the award we won covered a couple of these different areas, and I'm just going to kind of take you through how we did that and show you a little bit of an example of what came out of it. So the first thing to say on this is, I think, quite an important part. And if you look at that slide in front of you, very straightforward. You're going to get an average brand impact of any digital advertising. And of course, if you look at things like awareness or top of mind awareness, consideration, purchase intent, and you go from a control group, which is an unexposed group, and an exposed group. Obviously, we work at the device ID level, so we know for certain that the control group hasn't seen and the exposed group has. Look at that number right in the middle under ad recall. 19% of people who are unexposed actually say they saw the ad. And 24% of people that are exposed say they saw the ad, when we know that everyone in that exposed group actually saw it. So we've looked at this number, 100 times internally as we presented, and we suddenly got struck by the fact that wow, that's actually not very representative of what's really going on there. And when I look back to my days at companies like Ipsos, where a lot of research is based on claimed recall and opportunities to see, particularly in cross media, you realize that what you're actually measuring might not actually be a useful measure compared to what we can now do today. And we've moved on so much from those early days of saying, did you see the program before? Did you see the program after? Did you see the ads in between? To a point of looking at exposure that we are absolutely certain of. So here we have those two groups. 19% very clearly of people unexposed say they've seen an ad. 24% of people exposed are the only 24%. The other 76% said they didn't see it, even though we know they did. And what we did here was look at that 76% in a lot more detail to understand exactly what's happening. The 19% on the other side we found were actually very likely to be brand engaged already. So brand users or loyalists or people that have a relationship with the brand, which would encourage them to remember having seen an ad, even though they didn't. And on the other side, we found that those 76% of passive recallers, people who didn't see it, but we know they did, actually still elevate some of the numbers. And the work we did for Google that won the award really looked at understanding all of this 100% of ad exposure. And that's really why we won the award, because we get to look at all of that and we don't get to pick just the people that remembered it. So your 24% active recall, enormous kind of impact on the brand itself and how people feel about that. We've got 76% that we also see an impact on, and we see numbers go up there as well. So we've got impact at both angles and both levels, which I think is really key. So the way that we do this is very straightforward and very simple if you have the technology. And this is exactly the work we did that won this award. Look at those inputs at the top there. You have everything you can basically think of, from out of home to radio, from desktop web to mobile in-app. All of those things we can track passively. So if it's TV, we use audio content recognition, where we understand whether someone has actually seen an ad or been exposed to an ad without them telling us. If we're looking at out of home, we work with location data and our location partners to understand that. If it's digital radio, we can tag it, just like we do with mobile in-app, desktop web, mobile web, and we would get a device ID back or a cookie, which we then translate into a device ID. But all of that information, all of those device IDs coming back to us, we very accurately know people who've been exposed or unexposed. And when you think about that, you start to realize that the outcomes that that's going to lead to are kind of important, because you now have the ability to look at brand impact, you have the ability to look at creative impact. We can go to store visitation, we can go to sales, actual sales, web visitation and online store usage very, very accurately. So we start to look at impact and attribution completely. I talked a bit about device IDs. This is the basis of our work. Obviously, device IDs are permanent, unlike cookies, which are going to disappear. So working at that level means we're incredibly accurate. We obviously have been doing that for a long time, so that we know that we've got an entire database of benchmarks against those kind of numbers. And we also take all of that a little stage further, which we did in this particular example, to understand the cost per incremental, let's say, purchaser or intender or viewer. So in terms of some of the output, I'm going to show you a few things here that came out of the research that we did, just to give an example of what we were able to achieve. For example, reach analysis, when we're working with device IDs, there is no double counting, so we can understand overlap very clearly. We can look at key KPIs and diagnostics by all of those different channels, whether it be out of home, out of home, and digital social. You'll notice there that the social numbers quite a lot lower than you might have seen coming out of some of those social sites. So this was really important work to try and pull this together and understand the true impact of each of those different parts and elements of the campaign, to get to a point that made people very clear about the way that dual elements might work, about the way that impact is actually impacting people and affecting people, to look at emotions, to understand verbatim responses and what people are thinking, as well as how they're responding. So that gives you a little insight. I know we only had a little time, not too long at all, but hopefully that kept within the time limit and gave you a little bit of insight into the work that we're doing in cross-media impact and attribution. And obviously questions follow up, I'm sure, will come. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Nigel. I'm sure that's enough to whet people's appetite, and congratulations on a great case study. So I'm now going to hand over to Bertrand from Médiamétrie, who's going to present the Total Internet Audience project in France.
Hello, I'm very pleased
Hi, Bertrand.
Hello, I'm very pleased to introduce you the new Total Internet Audience currency in France. The real name locally is Internet Global, which means basically total audience. So for the last 30-something years, Media Industry has been measuring all audio, video, media in France, TV, radio, but also digital, with a very specific position because we are both operator and joint industry committees. For the digital, we have been measuring desktop with a panel in partnership with Nielsen for the last 20 years. We launched a mobile audience in 2010 and a tablet audience measurement in 2012. All three panels had been fused from 2015 to produce this total audience. However, we decided to adapt and to improve the methodology of our audience currency to have not a silo approach, but a total audience approach by defining a new currency. So the idea and the objective of this new measurement was to define the all screen, all devices as the only currency on the market to better take into account the mobile usage and more specifically in-app usage to better valorize publishers and advertising offer. There was also another objective to improve our data process and the robustness of our results and to improve subscribers' user experience with one single user interface to have access to all results globally and per screen. So audience measurement relies on three pillars. Firstly, we measure individuals. We don't measure cookies. We don't measure IDs. We don't measure brothers. We measure individuals. So panels are still key for measuring audiences. We have technology. I will talk about it later, and also conventions, the rules that the market define, but also the rules that are audited by independent third-party company. In France, we work with the CESP. So how does it work? People-based measurement. So based on the panel, we have 30,000 panelists, which are recruited by phone. It's a CATIE recruitment, mainly a CATIE recruitment. Obviously, we have establishment surveys to be truly representative of the French population. But among the 30,000 panelists, which are all equipped with meters, we have a single source panel with 5,000 panelists who are at least 2 or 3 devices, equipped on 2 or 3 devices. And this single source is quite crucial in our methodology because we use the duplication, the real duplications we can observe on this single source panel to extend to the whole panel, meaning that we will define the duplication between desktop and mobile, mobile and tablet, site and apps based on this single source, and we will then extend those duplications to the whole panel. In terms of technology, we still have an hybrid measurement. We work with a meter, so the meters can track all our 30,000 panelists' behavior, and we can measure all websites, all apps, whatever the location, whatever the OS, whatever the protocol, secure and unsecure pages. But this methodology based on the meter is reinforced by a site census approach. We work with the ACPA, which is the kind of verification audit bureau in France. And we have access to 300 website and apps site census data, which are used both to weight our data, so it's part of our weighting process, but also to calibrate some comparable metrics, such as pages or visits. What we deliver to the market is quite a comprehensive set of KPIs and analysis. We have firstly a kind of dictionary to identify the brands, the channels, the financial groups, but also advertising packages. And we deliver very classic KPI such as daily reach, monthly reach, time spent, pages, visits for all the websites and the apps globally and per screen. Obviously, the idea is to measure the incremental reach of one screen versus another, or a brand versus another, and to deliver this in a very simple user interface. So every month, we provide our clients the top 6,000 brands on the top 700 apps. We measure everyone with the same process, including Google and on Facebook. And the user interface can deliver the KPIs, as I said, globally and per screen, and to make all the analysis in one. We talked about the rules, which are quite crucial in a market which is looking for transparency on third-party measurement. There is quite a specificity in France. I guess we are the only one, maybe in Europe or in the world, to have around the table, I would say, the traditional media, print, TV, radio, but also the pure players. And we have around the table both French pure players such as Webedia or Le Bon Coin, but also Google, Twitter, and Facebook. And everyone agrees on the conventions, on the rules for the market. So it's a very balanced joint industry committee. In addition, we have the agencies and the industry bodies to make this audience measurement the currency on the market. And at last, what we can say is that this audience measurement also feeds other research on the market. We deliver some media planning files to the third-party tools and agencies. More and more, we enrich the audience measurement with some behavioral target groups. For example, we fuse our data with Nielsen HomeScan consumer panel. And we are also part of all the cross-media audience measurement solutions on the market. One which was released today is One Global, which fuses digital and print audience measurement. And we also provide the cross-media, which fuse all the currencies, TV, radio, print, cinema, and outdoor. That's it for our measurements, and I will be very pleased to answer questions at the end of the session.
Thanks very much, Bertrand. I'm now going to pass over to George to take us through the ComScore free viewability project. Over to you, George.
Thanks, Alison. Am I coming through clearly?
You are. That's super. Okay, go ahead.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is George Panayotou, and I'm the Senior Product Manager for International Advertising here at ComScore. Today, I'll be covering our free viewability project, which won under the Advertising Solutions category. In the next couple of slides, I'll be providing a brief overview of how our project came about, what our objectives were, the key results from our study, and the impact and applications. Regardless of the platform, the goal of advertising today is the same as it's always been: to elicit a consumer's feeling, emotion, or behavior related to a brand, service, or product. You create ads to have an impact. Beyond getting the right message, reaching the right audience with your advertising, and doing so at the optimal reach and frequency is one of the most, if not the most, critical factors in campaign delivery. Digital seems to have lost sight of the advertising metrics that matter due to its focus on the viewability metric. To put the focus back to the advertising metrics that matter, viewability should be treated in parity and made available to all, so that it can take its rightful place in the background. To help move the industry forward, ComScore decided to offer free viewability measurement in global markets to increase trust and transparency to digital advertising. By providing a free, independent third-party measurement, our offering is new to the market and a change to the industry, since we are now making this independent measurement broadly accessible for all. In recent years, viewability has dominated industry discussion, emerging as a new standard for measurement of digital ad campaigns that routinely shows up as a KPI everywhere. However, this has caused the industry to rely too heavily on viewability as an effectiveness metric when it's really just a hygiene metric. We want to put the focus back on the metrics that matter for campaign delivery, such as reach, frequency, GRP, media quality, demographics, and for campaign effectiveness as well, brand, behavior, and sales lift. Our self-service offering allows us to make these metrics widely available to the industry and ensure that viewability measurement is accessible to all. So what is ComScore free viewability? On this slide, I have a brief overview of what our free self-serving offering entails. Comscore Viewability supports display and video campaigns across desktop and mobile. In addition to ads that run on mobile web, we support mobile app measurement through our SDK and MRAID compliant publishers. Publishers and app developers who want to have their platforms fully represented in reporting can talk to their Comscore representative to ensure they have the latest Comscore code installed. It might also be worthwhile to briefly mention the methodology of Comscore Viewability. A single tag is appended to every creative to provide a complete view of campaign delivery, providing an accurate measure of unduplicated impressions. Comscore Viewability reports IVT as non-viewable, providing clean viewability reporting that removes even the most sophisticated forms of IVT. The free self-service viewability offering uses the same tag and methodology as our MRC accredited VCE platform, meaning the metrics provided will align with VCE reported data. VCE is accredited by the Media Rating Council, MRC, for both display and video viewability for impressions in desktop and mobile environments. And it's broadly accessible via self-service, easy-to-use user interface. Measuring viewable audiences, including target delivery, reach frequency, and GRP, is necessary for an accurate read on campaigns and for comparability between digital and TV. Brand behavior, location, and sales effectiveness results are negatively skewed when viewability is not properly accounted for. Being able to build viewable audience targets and evaluate delivery with the same underlying methods is critical to truly evaluating campaign performance. Since its launch, thousands of users have signed up for the service, which is integrated with the following list of ad servers that you can see here on this slide. Our decision to offer free viewability is many, many months in the making that was rooted in where we see the media industry moving over the next few years. There is a huge opportunity in cross-platform measurement, and this is Comscore's North Star as a company. We think it's time to break free of long-standing debates about digital ad quality so that we can collectively move forward towards a cross-platform future. Viewability puts digital on the same opportunity to see standard as TV, which is crucial to enabling integrated cross-platform campaign measurement. Next to a high number of subscribers from the globe, close to around 15 billion impressions have been measured since the launch in April 2017. Publishers, agencies, and their advertisers that have signed up are now able to make the most of these benefits as seen here on this slide. If we take a look at the benefits available, the benefits for the advertisers signing up for free viewability include reduced costs associated with overall third-party fees, beginning the leverage of trusted viewability measurement while incurring little to no risk, a focus on metrics that matter, audience, brand safety, IVT, and lift. Benefits for the agencies include increased margins by reducing costs associated with overall third-party fees, added value for clients who currently don't receive a third-party viewability measurement, the same and united leverage of trusted viewability measurement, again incurring little to no risk, and focus on the same metrics that matter, audience, brand safety, IVT, and lift. And finally, the publisher benefits include enhanced margins by reducing third-party measurement fees, eliminating split billing in cases where an agency is mandating this type of pricing structure. Again, the same and united leverage of trusted viewability measurement and the focus on the metrics that matter. Thank you.
Thanks very much, George. And now we move to our last category of today, which is the device category, consumer devices. And we're going to hear from Luis Fernando at OMD Spain to talk about his project. Over to you, Luis Fernando. Can you hear me, Luis? Because I can't hear you yet. You just need to take yourself off mute, if that's okay.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go. Super. Thanks very much.
Okay. Sorry. Hi, Claire. Hi, my previous panelists, and hi all for your interest. As you know, there is nothing like showing the photographies of our vacations, and these are mine. The real origin of this project are the necessities of measurement of audiovisual contents and platform in the new environment. As you know, traditional linear TV audience is falling dramatically in Spain, especially for targets under 45 years old, not only because of the proliferation of new online platforms offering content like Netflix or HBO, Amazon Prime, etc., but also because those contents are accessed from different devices and platforms. Usually, all we use smartphone, tablets, fiber optic, apps, smart TV, YouTube, etc. It all results in fragmentation of the audiences whose measurement is not solved yet, making its monetization impossible or at least really difficult. And the clue to solve it is obvious, probably for all we. Our mobiles are the main devices who can be identified with their users univocally, and we use them like a pivotal between on and off audiences. And this is what's the basic approach of Crossroad. We question. Crossroad is the result of combining two main mobile-based methodologies and technologies: an audio data collection technology plus and app meter. How does behavioral sound like? The first part of our proprietary study consists in collecting the sound captured by the smartphone microphones of a group of panelists using the SDK of our partner Fluzo. We hash and encoded those sounds and match them in real time with the audio identified as content coming from both broadcasted TV and radio in that very moment. Both sounds and the content were matched in real time, never recorded, taking into account. Simultaneously to the collection of audio data, the second important asset of Crossroad study was an app meter installed in more than 2,000 panelists, representative of the Spanish population over 14 years old. 73% allowed the access to their smartphone microphones. And here I can show how it runs in a video. I speak over the sound of the video. The first part work, imagine capturing the audio with a lookalike Shazam, as you can see with this orthopedic hand and the phone. And instead of matching the music with the database of Shazam, we match the sound with the contents aired in that moment on TV. Of course, advertising is part of this kind of content. And in the second screen you can see on the right is directly Google Analytics, because you convert the contents, the TV contents, as digital events, like your usual analytics. Okay. It was the link to see the video on Vimeo. The example on the video is with TV, but of course it has been used with radio and other audio contents. And as I said, simultaneously to the collection of audio data, the second important asset of Crossroad study was an app meter installed in the 2,000 panelists. Okay, and the roadmap of Crossroad was that we previously did a pilot test about the system with 200 panelists and optimized things like barriers to acceptance, additional consume of battery, etc. And we optimize all that. The amount of data is amazing. This is only 2 months of example, and think about the information and insights they include. That means a database of 1,600 representative individuals, the one who accept to give the control of the microphone, and their full mobile activity, including their use of apps, URL navigation and geopositioning, monitored 20 hours, 7 days a week for more than 2 months. And one of the utilities is having a cross-device measurement of audiovisual consumption. As you can imagine, for example, we have perfectly controlled a phenomenon like second screening. 84% of people do second screening while traditional TV watching, and they do it during the 53% of the time. The other utility can be that, for example, we can manage YouTube like any other TV channel. But the real importance for us of this methodology is the possibility of measuring without barriers between digital and physical worlds. And this is an example of one of our advertisers, who is a fake name, but you can imagine what advertising could be between 2 or 3 probably. We had a lot of examples, but of what the user wants and what they do immediately with their mobiles: searching, use of relationed apps, visiting the physical selling point, etc. For example, here you have what's the ad, use the app of this advertiser, searching Google about this advertiser, and finally goes to the restaurant. And so we have a global measurement of the return of investment. This is an example of how we measured last Black Friday with an Amazon campaign. Okay, and in this measurement, the system also allowed the possibility of sending push fast question to the panelists during the whole period. And this is in this example, we ask about the amount of money they used in the last Black Friday. This is the mean between socio-demographical variables. This means a change of paradigm. If you think we are not working with the media or channel audiences like usually, but we are working with the audiences associated with its persona. Other really example, we can contact in the right moment, in the right touch point environment, including radio, TV, digital, out of home, etc. And as I said, the audience is associated to its persona. And that's all. Last but not least, thank you to IAB to my team, and especially to my colleagues in Analytics Spain. Thank you. Thank you to you for your attention, and happy to have any questions.
Thanks very much, Luis Fernando. Right, so we're going to do, I think we've probably just got time for one question per panelist. So we will just have a quick question to Nigel to start with. So Nigel, I think your research is showing us that digital and out of home can be a successful combination. As we kind of look across Europe and seeing it at out of home in terms of both digitization and programmatic in out of home, that seems to be moving relatively slowly. Do you see that moving more quickly now?
We are actually working with a couple of companies now on with their programmatic out of home team. So certainly in the UK, we are engaged there very heavily, looking at how that works and really reporting back the same information. I mean, we come from a place where, even with anything that we're recording, in a sense, where it goes is not our decision or kind of, up to us. What we're getting back is who's seen it, who's been exposed, and what impact does it have. One of the things we're going to be producing pretty soon is a kind of comparison between, say, programmatic out of home and kind of managed bought out of home, and look at the differences there to see if there is, significant differences in impact or kind of return on brand impact, as we call it, return on investment. So I think once we get a few more cases in there, it'd be nice to look at that, and interesting for the industry to see that and see the differences between them.
Yeah, I'd certainly like to see that, Nigel. So you can report back on that one. Thank you.
Certainly will. Love to.
Okay, thanks. So Bertrand, perhaps you could give us some thoughts on how the total internet audience currency is being used on a day-to-day basis in the French market.
Well, this is used by all the media, but also the non-media players. We give access to the results also with those media planning files. So the agencies can select when planning digital media plan, at least strategic planning, they can select the best assets per category, because we have like 80 categories of websites. So they can have access to the top websites, the top apps, and they can have probabilities on for making the reach stronger or working on the frequency. So our data are used in very, very different way, but also for the media planning aspect of it. Okay,
that's very interesting. Thank you. And if we come to George, George, I think your winning case, that's a bit of a first with the free viewability product. And I wonder if you could just describe to us briefly, you took us through the kind of the benefits for a whole different group of stakeholders as you saw them. So how have the buy-side habits changed as a result of this, of bringing this product to the marketplace and for free? What's changed in terms of the way people manage their campaigns, and have a kind of a whole new load of pain points emerge to replace the old ones, or what kind of progress do you see?
Hi, listen, that is a great question. Marketing are telling me that I'm not able to comment on any questions at this time, but what I'd love to do...
are they? I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. What I'd love to do, because no, it's perfectly fine. I don't want to dodge anything here. So what I'd love to do is let me take any questions we have here, and I'd love to respond back to the questioner or the whole group offline.
Okay, that's great. So you're very welcome to take that question away then with you, and I look forward to getting further news on that. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think, okay, thanks. I think a question for Luis. This kind of wraps in with an overall, a kind of an overall point on the award. So, Luis, your case kind of begs us to ask what you see as the next step for this project. And one of the things that we love to see is people, you know, winning an award one year, and then we see the kind of evolution of that project in future years. So can you tell us anything about how you expect to see the project evolve?
Okay, to your first point, as you could imagine, there are a lot of development lines to this kind of research. To name any, first is by including the SDK in the advertiser apps. And then we have a differential first-party data source to use to give our services to our clients. Other, for example, is continuing with the research project and building a cruise media single source tracking measurement. Of course, increasing the sample and doing it in a continuous way over the year, and others, of course. Probably it's one of the audience of the webinar could imagine any application. And about your question about the award, I like the sentence telling something like, we didn't know that it was impossible, then we did it. I don't know who is the translation in English, but probably is the same sentence in all the languages. My tip is never say it's impossible to measure. Challenge yourself, and probably you have the answer in your hands.
That's a very nice tip, and a very good one for all those involved in research and measurement when they could get a little bit downhearted, Luis. So I like that very much. Thank you. So I think we will probably call it a day there for today. Just in terms of, I'd like to thank the panelists for 4 very varied and really interesting cases. And great to see the mix of different markets that they come from and approaches that they've taken. So that's really useful for us as an industry body and everybody out there across Europe. So thank you very much for that. I'd just like to thank all of our attendees as well for attending today, and to remind you that you can visit the iabeurope.eu website, have a look at the Research Awards area to view today's case studies, and you'll be able to watch and share the webinar recording, which will be available soon after the end of the webinar. There's also a survey at the end of the webinar, so please don't forget to share your thoughts with us and any tips that you have on how we can ourselves try to improve. So that's all from me for today. Thanks very much indeed, and a final thanks again to our panelists, and look forward to speaking to all of you again soon. Thank you.